Hello everyone, welcome to SONM question and answer session with SONM team. My name is Vitaly and I will conduct this session. And here we have Igor and Eugenia. Please guys, introduce yourself. Eugenia?
Hello guys, I'm Eugenia Longi, I'm the Marketing and Communication Director. I recently joined the company and I'm very happy to be here with you.
Igor?
Hello, my name is Igor, I am CTO of SONM project and I'm working for development and this is it.
You probably know Igor, but we don't know Eugenia. Eugenia, please tell us how did you get in team and your story.
Yes. Well, 2 months ago I get in touch with Sergey. I was researching about decentralization and blockchain. And I just saw that there was this position open and it was very interesting for me. I have a background in marketing, brand management, and also I've done work in decentralized environment. Mm-hmm. So I thought I could add very much to the company, and hopefully also they thought the same. That's why I'm here. What really struck me is the team, the preparation that these guys having, and I'm very happy to be here.
Good. I'm glad to meet you.
Me too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And let's start to read the questions that we get in Slido and Twitter. And later I will read the questions from YouTube chat. And the first question is from Russian user Glazuka. It was written in Russian, but we translated it, and it sounds like is the whole work is committed on GitHub, and are you need to follow open source principles while developing and publishing the code? Igor, can you handle it?
Yeah, I can. Most of our work is already committed on the GitHub, but not all of it. For example, wallet, which we are developing at this moment, is not yet committed to the GitHub because we were experimenting with the file structure. So it's not yet committed, but I think it will be committed this month. And another part of our work, which we are currently implementing, is the support for OpenCL GPUs, which we inherit from the NVIDIA Docker, and this is not yet committed as well because we would like to implement it as a separate library for community. So we are currently estimating how to make the file structure. And back to the open source, our project, most of its parts are open, and I think they can be called open source. And I think we will keep most of our projects open sourced. We have some reasons for this. First is the trust from the community, so we would like our code to be auditable, so everybody can see that our protocols, how they work, and they are trusted. Another option for this is that we would like our system to be open for integrations and for people to develop their own modules, for example, their own wallets or their own implementations of other pieces of the system. So this is it. But we reserve the right to implement some modules proprietary if they would be related to the security when we are close to them. This is it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. The next question from the same user, Glazuka, funny name, and it sounds like, which are the marketing plans, strategy to attract miners and workers into SONM network?
So first of all, we have to say that the first strategy is to get the right people. We are very happy that we have started our collaboration with a person that is an expert in his field. He's actually has been for years building and helping to build pool of miners. So I think he can give us the biggest insights on how to develop our strategies in the field. And we are probably, for sure actually, focusing at the moment on the Russian market, but then we are also having plans to expand abroad. Our mission obviously is to feed our environment with trust miners who can supply our network, and making sure that at least in the first phases that are testing phase, in which we will also have collaboration with the application providers, we are having the best environment to actually test our solution.
Yeah, I would like to even add that we are not, I think, really focused on the Russian market, but just the reason that we have a lot of friends and people whom we know personally that are mining, and we can instantly attract some decent amount of hashing power. So we will first bring them and test this on them, and this way it will be available for people all around the planet.
So we start with our miners friends.
No, I don't mean that we start them. I just know that we can bring them, just take them by hand and bring it here. But the system, when we start working on LeafNet, when we are on the testnet, it will be available for many people, not only from Russia. We don't stick to this country, but we're an international company. But just we can bring a lot of people just by their hand here.
Okay, thank you, Igor. And the next question from the same user, thank you, Glazuka. How the resources price will depend on power supply, and what are the optimal economic scenarios?
So I think I will start answering, perhaps you will add something.
Okay.
The basic idea of the market we are implemented, we would like to make a universal market for computing power, and of course there would be a supply and demand. But we should make those things equal, so the price is stable. But we can implement a constant demand for computing power, because nowadays any computing machine, even phone or anything, even browser, it costs money, because anything can be used for mining. And when you are visiting some web page, your browser can be used for mining by the malicious website owner. So any computing power, they're not free and they're not unused. There are no free resources. So we can make it possible for a constant and scalable demand for computing power for the purposes of mining, and at some constant price for the prices similar to the mining purposes. And when we have, and as soon as we have asks for computing powers for real applications like machine learning or rendering, those asks would be with higher price, and this would be more profitable to miners. But we have something to fill the market. So the question about the balancing of demand and supply, we don't think this is a question for us, because we have, on one side we have a constant scalable infinite demand for computing powers. So back to the economic optimum, the economic balance is as following. The hardware suppliers, they can currently earn money by mining or by rendering something on their own and attracting clients by their own. But when they bring the hardware to SONM market, they will always get the best price, and one of the offers would be always an offer for mining for the prices equal to the mining. So this is a base level, and any proposals for machine learning and rendering, they would be above that. No, this is the basic idea, but we are not only bound to GPUs, we also work for CPUs and any other applications that can use disks or network. So we're just talking about the GPUs for an example that we currently understand in depth.
Okay, thank you, Igor. And right now we have a user in YouTube chat, and he asking us a question. Do you all have any plans to work with Nail? Do you?
Nail?
I don't know. Who is Nail? Look at this.
No, it's not a blockchain project. I think they had another name previously. I don't really remember their name, but I don't think we have such plans at the moment, and I don't think we currently estimated talking about the particularly Nail. So
there are other collaborations that we do.
Yeah.
Obviously we are studying, but obviously it needs to be strategic.
We have a question about collaboration,
Okay.
and I will give it
Sure.
later. The next question is about exchanges. What's up with SONM to list in big exchanges? What is going on with security audit? And that SONM can't list it on exchanges.
Yes, obviously our aim is to make sure that our token is available to the biggest number of people. all around the world. Now we are actually trying to understand how to get list in Poloniex, and because we thought that is the first target in our next future strategy. Obviously, we also know that that currently there are a lot of questions, a lot of regulation enforcement in place, and we are simply studying what's the best strategy for us to get shape to do this. If it was 2 years ago, it would have been probably much easier. Now we are simply getting structure with lawyers, with advisors to actually be listed in Poloniex, and probably are coming also after later.
Okay.
I think that
but I would say that actually already from now I cannot commit, okay, on this, but I can already from the next Q&A we will have more news on this, so more people will be able to trade our tokens.
Yeah, next month we will
follow up on this one.
Yeah.
You know, I think many people are waiting for us to commit on Bittrex, and I've checked the page for commitment and what are the options there, and currently the options we did not yet have fully organized is the results of the security audit. So currently we are working with a couple of companies to make this possible. So when we have the security audit, we will have a full application ready to be committed there, or on any other exchange, because the terms are similar. Yes.
Okay, thank you guys. And the next question, I don't know how to spell his name, but it sounds like, will Ethereum be fast enough to handle SONM? How about for video games, which requires low ping? Will Ethereum make it slow and not enjoyable?
Okay, this question consists of two parts not related to each other, because the speed of the Ethereum is not related to the experience of the gaming we can provide, because these parts of the systems are not related to each other. First, about the Ethereum. Our estimations, we had estimated different numbers of our aim or target number of nodes, and they show that we can, in optimistic scenarios, when we get many nodes as we wish, we can take about 15 to 20% of the Ethereum bandwidth with the current technical implementations of the Ethereum. But 15 to 20% sounds like a lot of bandwidth of the Ethereum itself, and we are waiting for some events to happen. We are waiting for sharding, we are waiting for side channels and for channels and for side chains. Yes. Also, if we don't get these things in time, we can think about implementing, for example, channels. For example, if we can implement a deal and pay-as-you-go method, we can make a channel on our own, so we have some options here. But basically, we expect Ethereum to implement this on their own, and the things they're currently doing, this looks like they can handle it in some time. The question is only about the timeline, but until we reach our project load of the 15 to 20% of the Ethereum bandwidth, I think they can handle it. And now back to the question about game servers. This relates to the speed of the nodes that we have in our network, and we'll have different computers in our network, even home PCs or mining rigs, or for example some spare equipment in some companies or even in hosting companies, and they all have their own bandwidth. And the gaming experience and the speed, this really relates to the speed of the node that you had purchased. So if you purchase a node with a fast network, and this is an option you have on the marketplace, you can have your speed at an enjoyable level.
It's one of the parameters you choose.
Yeah,
right? The speed.
Not really the speed. We have seriously simplified the bid and ask order for marketplace just to make it working, because all of the thinkable parameters that we can take to the marketplace, there are hundreds of them. So we simplify them to less than 10. And the network is described as a number of gigabytes transferred and received. So this indirectly relates to the latency and to the bandwidth. And the high gigabytes you are promised, this relates to the network speed. And we have an option to set even latency if you want on the marketplace. So this really depends on the node you are trying to use on the SONM network.
Okay, and to keep you running, the next question is there a master node, and if so, from what level?
The approach of master nodes relates to some, for example, delegated proof of stake, where some nodes are doing verifying the transactions and they have some stake and they receive fees from doing this work. Currently, at this point of development, we don't have a concept of master node because we have clients, we have hubs, and we have workers. The hubs are something close in the idea to master node, but they are not them because master nodes receive fees for verifying transactions. But currently, we don't have such feature. But yet, when we will develop the platform as a service, a next step of our project, we will have some work for most trusted hubs with good bandwidth, and perhaps this could be done in different ways. We can rent their powers on the general market and pay for them as a SONM supercomputer can rent the powers itself, but we can also implement it as super nodes. So this kind of work will work in parallel with the other computation. So this yet has to be designed in the architecture. But currently we are stick to not implement on super nodes because we don't have delegated proof of stake, and we don't intend to do that at this moment.
Okay, I've received 2 questions from YouTube chat, Bogdan Teodoru, and it's about on what platforms will SONM be available, Mac, Linux, Windows, etc. And also, will there be a minimal system requirement for running SONM software?
Okay, Eugenio, I don't think you'll mind if I will handle this one too.
With somebody.
About the platform support, the MVP product, we use the Docker container as the mean to transport the payload from the client to the machine that he rented. So the Docker is an environment that works on Linux. So the hub and the worker are the systems that should run Linux. What kind of Linux, what distribution, like Debian or Red Hat, this doesn't matter. The only requirement is that they have a modern kernel, so the Docker is capable of working there, and that the libraries are compatible which are inside the Docker. So from the supplier side, we need Docker and we need Linux at this moment. But eventually, we estimated to implement different kind of the payload distribution, like OpenStack or Kubernetes or even Docker Swarm. So if we go for other types of virtualization, it would be possible to use this on Windows, but this is a question of the later stages. From the client side, we currently develop the cross-platform node and the cross-platform wallet. The wallet itself is currently implemented as an HTML page which runs everywhere, in any browser which is capable of running modern JavaScript. And the node itself, the client node is something you can communicate with, and this is your gate to the SONM network. This is also implemented as a cross-platform thing for Windows, Linux, and for Mac. So this is it at this moment.
Okay, thank you. Next question I would choose about what are your plans regarding opening new offices abroad, USA, UK, and so on?
For me.
Eugenio, yeah, please.
Okay, obviously we are a global company, so we are thinking. Obviously, we have planned. We have already business developers in these regions. But currently our headquarters is in our main office and only office actually is here in Moscow. Obviously, when we are seeing that we are going to build partnership in the different areas and we see the needs for this, we are going to open it. But currently we didn't lock any plan to open an office anywhere. We have people representing us in UK, in US, in Southeast Asia, in Japan. We are looking now for some partnership also in Middle East, and actually next week we are also going there for a conference in Dubai. Yes, and yes, there are a lot of plans, but now we are not ready actually to commit to any opening date for opening.
Thank you, Eugenio. And the next question, it was mentioned in the new wallet, it will be available on December. Which GitHub repository is it?
As I mentioned on the first question,
Yeah.
the wallet itself is not yet published. When we will publish it, will be seen in our GitHub.
Okay, the most important and burning question, when Moon?
I don't think we can add something more here because this was many times discussed.
I think we should put some song on this question, like soon, moon, moon, soon, soon, like this.
Okay.
The next question,
but I think we can add something here. The moon would be a result of a multiplication of a product efforts and of the marketing itself. Previously we answered that it would be the result of the product. Now we say that it would be a multiplication of these both things, because if you have good marketing and good product, we will have moon. So currently we are working in both of these directions. You can ask Eugene about his part of this work.
Well, look. It was a part of why I decided to come here, because I see that first I saw that the ICO was very successful, but also because when I came here I saw that there were people that are shaping actually the great team, and both from a technical point of view, from a marketing point of view, from a sales point of view, we are beefing up for having a great performance. We are both actually here and in the different regions of the world. We are creating our infrastructure in terms of people, in terms of partnership, and for sure then Moon will come. It's just a matter of how good we are in do it fast and but in a sustainable way as well, because we want to hire the best people that are going to be with us for longer, and they have their commitment to what was written in our white paper. We want to deliver what is in our promise.
Okay, thank you. The next one, in the comparison table, round robin indicated for load balancing. Someone mentioned round robin isn't load balancing. If it's not, what SONM uses for load balancing?
Yeah, the truth is that we have already discussed this question in the English part of the Telegram chat, and I can just briefly recap the answer. The term about round robin comes from the table with some comparison, and what it is about. Currently we are implementing the infrastructure as a service, and you can rent the kind of like virtual machines, and you will have some slots of resources on some addresses on the internet. And if you have some of them, if you have a couple of them, or they all will have, if you ordered an outbound internet traffic and incoming ports, all of them will have AP addresses, and you will have some of them, and you can use a couple of those AP addresses, for example, for DNS load balancing, which is effectively something like round robin. But the person who asked this question, why is it not about load balancing? Because round robin is not really about asking the nodes on how much load is on them. This is just a mean of distribution of load among some couple of nodes. But this is not about checking their health, not about checking whether they're alive or not. So this is not truly the load balancing, and this was just mentioned as something that can work at this moment. But eventually, when we will develop the platform as a service, as a second stage of our development, we'll have a full-fledged scaling, and how this will look. You will have your application, you will upload the code, and the platform will itself provision sufficient resources for your application, and it will load balance, it will check heartbeats and the health of the load of the nodes, and will provision them and scale them. So this works together, the heartbeats, the balancing, and the scaling. So this is the eventual state of the system when we are going to do the platform on top of the infrastructure.
The question from YouTube chat: how can the community help to make things move faster?
I think a community would be able to help when we will be able to deliver the solid public documentation of the project, because currently most of our documentation is private, because we are in the process of working on it, and just things are moving very fast around us, and things are changing fast. So when we will have some solid, stable, for example, MVP release, and when we will deliver the documents, people would be able to study them and perhaps propose some pull requests in the GitHub and perhaps apply for working with us. And this is one of the reasons why we keep the code open source, so that some people will eventually be able to contribute.
But I want to add
okay.
on this thing. Yeah, there is a code part, fine. But I'm also thinking about a community, leveraging community in terms of extending our network of contacts with companies, with institutions that might be our partners. So, for example, we are now we have strong plans in going to particular conferences which are actually all about computing power and how to. What I want to do, what we want to do, is to actually engage with our community in these conferences. So next week I will be in Dubai. In the other week we will go together to London, and there will be other representatives of us going also in the US. What we want to do is that people of our community are interested in collaborating with us, that they see a potential in actually fledging a partnership with us. Please come to us. Let's try to use this time to actually understanding each other, having a direct, compelling moment with us in which we can really understand how you can be part of us. And also regarding documentation, there is a part that is obviously about technical documentation. This should be also complemented with something about the vision and also some more, let's say, practical way of collaborating with us. If, for example, we are explaining what is in practical terms, which are the kind of services that can work with our application and platform. And then we are having some guy of our community that actually works in one of these application companies. He can be also a kind of sponsor. I would see really a lot of potential also for him to bring a solution to a current problem that probably his organization is having. So if anybody in the community feels that we can help enable him to do his job or his company job better, please reach out for us in our community, in our conference we will have, and we'll be happy because we are now feeding our environment. Everybody in our community is I would say sponsoring us, is part of us, and please help us actually to deliver our dream. If you are part of the community because you have a dream of creating an environment in which fog computing is something that is real, so it's a really active role that I am asking from a code point of view, but also from a business and a relationship point of view. Universities, we know that there's a lot of possibility for us to provide computational power at the best price that people can buy, and we know that in universities sometimes money is scarce. So please reach out for us. We can do together something to actually creating this environment and making sure that probably also your thesis work is going to be faster and that with a lower price.
And also I would like to add that we need to translate our materials on different languages like Chinese, Spanish, lots of languages.
There are plans on this one. Yes, we will do it. We are currently working obviously on the website. The website
and then we have a question about website. It's like when the updated site will be done.
Look,
can I add one more point about the web page?
And then we are
about the web page. The same group of people that currently doing the wallet, they are the group of people that can implement the update web page or make the new web page. So they currently had a more higher priority with the wallet. So until this moment, this was not really focused on them. But currently we have some movements here, and another team will implement this. Yes,
indeed. And so we are working on this. There was just a matter of priorities. We are a startup in the end. We are not infinite resource. We are not. We have to choose, and we make the choices. But yes, we will use the website as our primary also resources to share not only our vision, but actually documents in which people can understand what we are doing and then contribute.
And by the way, I agree with everything mentioned. one more point about the support from community, how to make things going faster. I forgot to mention that we have great support from our public chats. For example, I can advertise our Telegram chats in Russian and in English. And most of the days we have talks there, and I take part in these talks. And sometimes we receive difficult questions, some complex questions, and this makes us think. So I would encourage everyone who has some questions or has some ideas, just go to chat. I'm personally reading both of them. If someone not answering, you can mention and repeat your question, but we mostly read them and we think about what is said there.
Yeah, I'm reading chats all the time.
And there was the other part about the different languages. I think that obviously the technical documentation will be done in English, but the original one. But then we can say that for sure we are going to, because we are a global project, we want to have that also there are key critical messages that everybody needs to understand. We will also translate in the main languages. So it could be Chinese, it could be obviously English, Russian. I would say Italian because I'm Italian, but Spanish, and we will see. But yes, we want to open up ourselves to the world. So obviously it's on core to communicate that we understand each other. And this is in the plan.
Yeah, and back to the chats, for example, I personally spent more than 2 hours per day traveling from work to home and backwards, and during this time I mostly take part in chats and read what was written during the day or during the night. So this is quite an effective means. We are discussing interesting questions. For example, some of the today's questions they are already mentioned there.
Yeah, thank you. Question from YouTube chat: why did SONM partner with Storj instead of CIA? Can someone give me the response in chat since my video stream isn't working? And full play and fair.
Sorry?
The user.
Oh, okay.
It's like, why Storj, not CIA?
You do it for the technical
Yeah,
part.
of course.
Yeah.
The first question is why bother at all? Because in the mentioned roadmap we have 2 pieces of our architecture: the infrastructure, the service, and the platform. At the platform level, we need some solutions, for example, for object storage, for file storage, and from the terms of the object storage, what is already implemented. There are some ready solutions. One of them is Storj, and another is the SIA coin. They are both on the market. Both of them are solid projects. Perhaps SIA is more time on the market. I know from both of these projects, but we investigated both of them, and it looks like both are in some degree applicable to our project and can be used here. But we had some friends with Storj, so we investigated the architecture and the implementation. Looks like it should work, so why not? This will solve some of our questions with the object storage, and more to say, they're actively developing their system, and their roadmap to implement their plans, they're fine, and we see the future in this. So this is one of the options. So, and we don't say that SIA coin is not can be used. We can do it later, for example. This can be used as an option as well later.
We saw it simply as a natural and a mutual benefit actually to leverage the partnership with them. In the end, we have both the same objective of we have resources from one side and demand on the other side. To simplify, probably it's more about hard disk on this side, and they on Storj, and we are more about overall the infrastructure, the CPU, GPU, and all the other computational power. And we share the same mission. We have good contacts with them. The solution looks good for us, and that's why we chose to. It's not we choose. We actually came together. They also came to us. So
I forgot one more important thing. If I remember, the SIA is they have their own blockchain, but the Storj, they use the Ethereum part of the blockchain. So for us, the integration with Storj would be in some degree simpler. For example, from the economic part of the system. So in some degree, Storj, the economic part is simpler for us. Yes.
Okay, thank you. You cracked this case. The next question: worker can trick client that he's allocating more resources than in fact. Is some verification system smart enough to recognize it? Can it detect and penalize lying workers?
Yeah, this I should think about how to answer simply on the complex questions. There are many ways how you can try to trick the system, and some of them are easy, some of them are complex, and some of them are really complex. And there are two approaches. One of them is the universal approach, not application specific, and another approach is application specific. For example, what we know from from proof of work mining or from the proof of existence mining implemented, for example, in storage. Those are approaches that are application specific, and they provide some specific algorithm of verifying things. But currently we are implementing the universal approach to computing, and we say general computing, and we can host virtually any type of application inside Docker. So we should divide the possible approaches for universal verification, and there are some options there. And there are possible approaches for application-specific verification, so I will cover both. From the universal approach, verification options, which are they? First is verification via replication. So if you have a stateless application that doesn't use entropy sources, and this is completely deterministic, we can run it in 2 or 3 copies and just compare the results. This option would be implemented when we will go for platform as a service, but this will definitely take more resources, and this will cost more money to the customer. But perhaps this would be indeed, even with that point, perhaps it would be cheaper or at a comparable price. But nevertheless, another option is to implement some frameworks for some languages and implement some checking structures inside the program code of the application owner. This is another approach. The third approach is to implement the trusted platform, which we are currently working on and researching this. And perhaps I mentioned some other points. And the last line of this defense is the customer itself, because when people buy the resources, they will also have an option finally to put plus or minus, and if some person which is buying resources is not satisfied or thinks he was tricked, he has an opportunity to raise a client. So this is how it works from the universal side. There is no general all-purpose solution on the market or in the industry. It's not yet implemented, and everything you know from the checking is application specific, and we can go back to this. For example, there are some supercomputers out from us attempting to do some checks, and all of them are application specific. And when we will go for platform as a service, we will provide some means for application developers to provide application specific approaches. So this is another approach.
And one question from me: how much time you can speak with this speed with technical stuff?
I didn't check.
It's hard to follow sometimes. The next question: which hardware should miner buy forward? CPU cores or GPUs?
Don't you mind if I take this?
I don't mind, it's
Okay.
okay. But I know that before you answer is that our vision what is going to be. Our vision actually that everybody is going to supply, if it's possible, is going to supply their own power, hardware to us. There will be steps on this.
Any power that.
Yeah, this is true, because some of the equipment is already purchased and it's already there on premises or at homes, and virtually most of the PCs can be used for SONM. We're not talking about, for example, for phone. This is another topic, or for smart TVs. This is indeed another world. But if someone wishes to buy resources specifically for SONM, there are indeed some guidelines on what to do. For example, I will start from the mining. If you are looking for hardware for mining, you will have some guidelines. For example, you don't really need most of the CPUs. You can buy cheap Celeron, or you can buy the least amount of the memory, like 4 gigabytes of memory. But you will have a lot of GPUs, like 6 or 8 of the GPUs, and you can use one PCI lane with the extender cables. and you will have some small amount of disks. But if you go for example, for machine learning or for video rendering, you will need larger amounts of PCI lanes. So you should not use, for example, PCI extenders, and perhaps the better solution would be to take 3 GPUs per motherboard. So in this configuration, it will be effective for machine learning and for rendering, but still able to mine. But from the mining perspective, it will be 2 times less GPUs that it could have. But for example, the solution would be to take 3 GPUs on the many PCI lanes, and for example 3 with an extension. So this setup would be capable of mining and rendering and, for example, machine learning. From the CPU and memory, mining doesn't need that, but we are not only about mining, and we are not even for mining at all, but this is just a market filler. So you will need some heavy CPU, for example, some mid or above mid models like i7 or i5 or even Xeon, or some top AMD models, so as many cores as you have, because this matters for machine learning and this matters for rendering, for example. And you should also plug as many memory as you can afford, for example, up to the top of 32 gigabytes of memory, because that differs for machine learning and for rendering. And as soon as we are already capable of rendering even your disk spaces, so if you can also plug in as many hard drives there, perhaps not in a single machine, but somewhere nearby. So in general, the more resources you can plug in there, the better you will be. But another thing about the GPUs, the current understanding is that the green GPUs, I mean the NVIDIA, they are more universal. For example, they are capable with CUDA, they are capable for machine learning. I cannot we don't currently see the support for machine learning on AMD on the red cards. And from the terms of rendering, for example, I think that the most is for green again. So, but there are some options, for example, the Lux renderer, which are capable of running on the AMD cards. So I think you should go with green cards if you are planning to make new setup for SONM particularly. But this is just our thoughts at this moment. When we are close to the launch, when we will have some practical tests, we will have a better understanding. This is just a temporary understanding. And yes, about the models, about the GPU models, I think the optimal would be the middle and the top, like 1080 Ti, because they are not optimal from the purposes of mining, because they are more expensive with the same or lower hash rate, but they are better for machine learning again and for rendering. So you should build a flexible system, more flexible than what means flexible for mining. So I think there was some other part of the question.
No, I think
no. That was a really short question. And next question from YouTube chat: what we can expect after 1st December? I guess 2nd.
Yeah, indeed, the 2nd. But we have two release projects which we are doing. The first of them is the wallet, which we mentioned as around December. Around December means that we are aiming to release it in December. This is the estimation.
So it's after 1st.
Yeah, it's after 1st, but it could be 10th or it could be even 15th, you know.
But it's after.
Yeah, as any IT project, we have some internal deadlines which are not always estimated and reached, but there are some internal deadlines for the first part of the December, but I cannot guarantee this, so we promise it in December. At the current stage of the wallet is that we have most of the functions already working, and we are currently formatting the visual appearance of the wallet. We have full design ready, clickable in Adobe Something Online. So we are doing with the design, and then we'll have 1 or 2 weeks with testing. So we, I think, need perhaps 3 weeks from this moment still in the development. But December. And another product is MVP itself, and we mentioned this as December or January. And again, we have some internal deadlines currently we are testing the system in the integration tests. We are implementing the virtual machines to run the system in multiple modes behind the net and not in direct connect to the network, different modes of hub operational. We are currently testing it and fixing what we find. So hard to say the exact date in December and January, but somewhere around the new year. Perhaps if we can deliver before the new year, that could be a good present for everyone.
New Year presents, everybody likes it. The next one, let's try to make it short. What if a miner goes down doing important task? Will there be redundancy to redo it on another miner?
Okay, this depends on the application approach. On the infrastructure as a service layer, the application manually controls the resources. Are you already tired? Yeah, no?
No.
This intended to be short.
Here we get Kartik D, and he asking why I'm not asking his questions, and I'm looking in camera.
I'll try to answer short. If the miner fails, it depends on the application. If the application can handle the failure of a single node, then it will be fine. But from the payload or requester, but from the miner's perspective, he has a deposit for the deposit, and if the customer raises a claim, the supplier will have two options. First of them is to confirm that he failed and to lose a part or full of his deposit, or another is to disagree, and then there would be a dispute, and as a result would be the loss of their reputation for both of them. So there are options for the different sides, but the main thing is that this is application specific.
And the question from Kartik D.
Yeah.
Is SONM going to work only on internet or on local network as well? I have a PC with a graphics card and laptop. Can I play high-end games on laptop using resources on PC using SONM on LAN?
No, I don't think this is a current scenario that we are aiming for. This can be implemented on the application side, on the game side itself. If someone develops a game or modifies a game engine so that the rendering would be done on another node and then translated as a video stream over the networks for your laptop, this will work. But current game approach is different. Current game approach is that the rendering is taking place on your machine directly, so you don't have any lags moving around or anything of that. There are some ICO projects that are about streaming video from the game servers directly, and they have some dedicated software for that. But we are building the universal approach, and that this can be done on the application level. So now back to the question about the local network. SONM can operate in local network, of course, but this is not its main purpose and not its shiny benefit, working in local networks. But later we will implement even solutions for closed organizations, so they can share the resources internally without sharing them to the outer world. This on the later stages.
So in internal LAN, it will not be a supercomputer.
Yeah, it would be just a cluster of the hardware,
Yeah.
like the Kubernetes or OpenStack or Yandex VPN.
But it's possible. The next question, let's try to make it short, because we have already, it's like 50 minutes online, and we have to move forward. Is there possibility to exchange fiat money to put on some wallet? Is there plans to make it possible to pay with fiat money, like $1?
Well, now currently we are evaluating a different, let's say, option. Currently we are having that you have to buy our SONM token to actually have this machine going. But as I said, there are, we said this internally, we are evaluating which is the most efficient way of actually having our environment moving. because there are some behavior by using SONM token versus, for example, using Ethereum versus Fiat that actually could not be so efficient. So I think it's a matter of a decision we are going to take. There are, for example, our partner StoreJ is using actually dollars to move from paying for the resources. We have a different approach. We are still not in the phase here to take a decision. We are taking both let's say routes open, and then when we will decide, we will commit to it.
So yes, the decision is not yet made and we are evaluating. Currently, at this particular moment, we are not doing this, we are doing the product on the cryptocurrency, because if we go for fiat currency for dollars, it will take us a whole new team to be hired to make this operational, to work with legal, to work with business. This is complicated, at least for me, so perhaps we will do it later.
So we are sticking to what we were promising.
Yeah, but later it could be an option, and it could be a good option, as we see from the storage example.
And the important thing, I mean, also the way we work here, we are trying to stick to the principles of our mission, and we are operating in a way that day by day we are taking the decision that we think is most efficient to implement the mission of an environment which we have hardware and software, and we have a marketplace. So when there will be then some important obviously decision to be taken, we will also reach out for comments, reach out for our community to get their perspective. Always in mind that whatever we are taking here is to make sure that we go faster and stronger to implement our dream.
Okay, thank you for shortness. The next question: if token, I'm just joking. If token price is far above $1, will its price affect negatively on running of SONM platform? SONM.
See if the SONM goes up.
Yeah. If price will go up.
The exact value, the absolute value of the price is not affecting the effectiveness of the market. The thing that affects the effectiveness of the market is the speed of change. I don't remember the exact word for that in English, doesn't matter. So if the price is stable, it doesn't matter what is the absolute value of the price, because you can just expect the price to be 1 and then you get the result. This is the same, so it should be fine.
So the thing is that also on this thing also we are actually testing which is the period in which we can, because if it's stable, we have to say how much then is going to be stable and what we want. So we are actually trying to understand how to implement a way that is as dynamic as possible, to be flexible, to actually handle the different variation. But that's why we are implementing.
It's not about the absolute value; it's about the stability.
Because in the end, if you have a SONM value, SONM token that is $1, or it's going to be $3 or $300, who knows? Bitcoins went really up. It's in the end, what really happen is that the person will have a certain also value to buy hardware to make a computation. So automatically the system will say, okay, today it is half of SONM because it's a SONM token because it's 150 that you need for this computation. The day after actually is going up, then you actually need instead of doing half, you need less. So it's just a way of changing, but there is no block. Actually, the more goes up, I would think the better for us, because obviously it's obvious that more people will get interested in our mission, and more people will actually contribute to what we are trying to do.
So it's not negative, right?
No, it's actually positive.
So thank you. The next question. I heard developers want tokens price to be stable around $1. I'm a little bit concerned that dev team are setting the limit of tokens valuation.
We are not. This is not. No. There is no link of this thing.
The ideal situation would be that the token price is gradually increasing and we don't have any thinkable limit talking about $1 or any particular absolute price.
Probably what we are saying is different. It is still back to our decision of taking token for transaction used for fuel the transaction and actually paying. But the token is taking instead outside this context. There is no particular link on this. But it's not about price. It's about stability, and it's about how fast. If it is moving that fast up and down, we will try to actually have a system that also dynamically adjusts our market of supply and demand as fast as possible.
So ideal for the team, and what we are aiming is that the price will be gradually increasing.
That would be good, yeah. All right. Use case. Does SONM support failover or backup use case or for companies running on traditional hardware?
Currently, at this particular moment and the MVP scope, we don't support for this, but later with the platform as a service, we will be working on this for the backup and for the replication. But as a later stage, perhaps and the first we have to do the most essential part, the market and the infrastructure.
Can you guarantee that if I switch my CPU or GPU mining rigs to working for the SONM network, the profits will be high enough to justify the initial investment in hardware? Can you guarantee?
I guarantee at the moment. I don't think we can say we guarantee. Probably there will be for certain people, for certain users, there will be some time during our development which we will see naturally that we have developed a certain kind of infrastructure so rich that actually naturally they can say, look, I'm going to supply you my hardware with my particular characteristics, and minimum, as you were saying before, they will mine. And then as soon as we receive the actually requests of different applications for different kind of use, we will use also activate their resources for different than the mining uses. So it's just a matter of, that's why we are also starting to actually supply with our MVP and testing, supply our system with solid and robust mining. It's just a decision to have this ball rolling. Then step by step, the more different, the more we are good in terms of marketing and more they are helping us to actually the community to have a different application being a client of our infrastructure, the more these people, any people who have a different hardware actually can be part of our network, and can be then be always efficient for them being part of supplying their hardware to us.
Okay, what I would like to add here is that the person asked about the guarantee of the investment. The truth is that mining doesn't guarantee you the return of the investment. It just the probability is high enough if you believe in the mining, and for example in Bitcoin in particular, doesn't matter. No one gives a guarantee even in the mining, but the chances are high. But what do you get in the mining? You just get the GPUs working. And if you go to SONM, what will you have? The GPUs will be this. The thing that we say is that at least your GPUs will also be used for mining, at least for that. But your CPU will also be used, your memory would also be used, your disk and the network will also be loaded, and from time to time you will receive machine learning tasks and rendering tasks, which will earn you and yield you 1.5 times or 2 times higher prices. And the amount of these chances to receive the higher price offers is the amount of clients we bring to this network. Companies like Phaser or Selectel, the many companies we bring here, the more your chances are to get a really higher price offer. But at the basic level, you will have virtually the same. Your hardware will be working for mining as well, just as you're doing in solar at this moment. So from my personal point of view, I think this is all around more interesting and beneficial for my end.
Okay, it's an option, it's a positive option we are getting.
Yeah, and another option, if you already have the hardware, this is one question. Perhaps you already have purchased it, and the question now how you can squeeze the maximum money out of this. And here SONM looks like a good option, because we will utilize all of your resources. But if you are intending to buy new hardware, particularly for SONM or for mining, you should you should consider the options that I have previously mentioned about the video cards, about the PCI lanes, about the about the good CPU and a lot of memory and a good network. You should estimate all of the resources type and mark them out.
Okay, the next question about marketing plans. What are your marketing plans? Any exhibitions, conference, and it's actually a second question. Any exhibitions, conference, forums ahead, and marketing plans? So, Eugenio, please.
Regarding marketing plans, we are actually now actively working about structuring our products. Me and the technical team, part actually of the technical team, it is working on the understanding which are the feature of the product and try to match out actually which are the feature and which is the application which can use our particular feature. So this is a part of making sure that the baby we are going to deliver is a baby which is going to play in a big playground. Regarding, obviously there will be other more, let's say, plans that are adding the way we are scoping this and the way we are getting closer to the release. Another help that we are trying to do actually this kind of path is actually taking part in the conferences. So now the biggest part of our marketing plans is taking part to conferences to actually get alliances with different application providers, or even people who are interested in our technology, or even miners or suppliers of hardware who want to be part of us. And then we are also obviously reshaping our social media strategy. We are leveraging PR agencies actually can help us to spread the news about us and what we are doing. More details will follow. Actually, you will see us working. I want to deliver engaging material in different means. It can be video explaining how we are using the product. Can be used in different use cases. There is a lot of things obviously that can be done, and the more we are getting closer to the release, the more we will be providing plans for this and execution actually.
Okay, thank you. We're online already 1 hour and 5 minutes, almost 5 minutes, and okay, 10 more minutes and we will finish. Let's do some fast answers. Can you please tell us more about user interface, front end? Igor?
On the client side, we have a node which has a CLI environment like the command line, and we have the wallet which acts as the GUI, where you will have the graphical user interface. You will have token works there, the voting, the exchange for market power, the marketplace, and some other options like the DAO and other.
Thank you. That was fast. How do you ensure client-sensitive data remains confidential on SONM? That's painful question.
To answer fast, the universal approach is not yet implemented in the industry. How to ensure this on the untrusted nodes somewhere on the internet? But if we can implement a trusted platform, which we are currently researching, this would be a hard barrier for people to break. This would not be absolute, but it would be hard enough for most of the data to be safe. And the other option is the application-specific approach. You can develop an application and encrypt the data outside of SONM, or you can encrypt it in the browser, or you can just make, for example, if your application is kind of microservices and you have some distributed applications, some type of your nodes which don't hold the sensitive information can be placed on the SONM network. The nodes that hold the sensitive information can be kept outside, or the data can be encrypted. This is application-specific. And by the way, if you are curious, none of the other projects that are doing the same approaches, none of them can provide you security on the client nodes because of the lack of the all-industry approach. So you can ask any other project, and
so it's a universal problem.
This is a universal problem, and we are attempting to make a security trusted platform, but there are some chances that we will handle it, but
at the moment we cannot provide a better answer than this one, but there is in the plan, because this obviously open up a lot of different other applications.
But still the application approach, as I mentioned, it works. For example, you if you know the Proton Mail, for example, it's a kind of a Gmail, but from the Hadron Collider engineers. They made the encryption inside the browser, so you receive the mail and you have two passwords, one of them for entering your account and another for decrypting. So it works completely inside your browser, so the backend doesn't know your data. And this approach can be used for implemented, for example, websites or some kind of shops or e-commerce. And similar approach can be used for making network attached storages. If you have your own master nodes and you encrypt data, and the nodes on the SONM network, they use already encrypted data for just storing. This is there are options there indeed.
Good.
This is it.
Thank you. The next question. How will latency be compared to classical cloud storage? Do you plan to use another AI which dynamically moves data to achieve lowest possible latency to individual user?
The general answer is that in data centers in traditional cloud, the latency is low because they have good bandwidth, but in SONM you will have a lot of nodes and all of them will have different bandwidth, and some of them will have fiber optics at home or fiber optics at their company, or even gigabit Ethernet, and this should be a fine latency. So this fully depends on each node's bandwidth and latency, and some of them will have good characteristics for this, and even more. For example, if we talk about traditional cloud, some data centers are in remote countries. For example, in some countries there are no local data centers, but there would be some local SONM nodes because they would be everywhere. So in some cases, I think SONM can provide even better latencies than the traditional cloud because our nodes would be closer to the customer. And by the way, about the AI, we are intending and planning to implement some special service when we will approach the platform development stage, the platform as a service. We are going to implement some kind of cluster discovery service. So it will identify the network map of the devices, and it can advise some group of nodes that are close to each other with good local connectivity, so we can build some special applications there who require high bandwidth or low latency.
Okay, the next. Does SONM aim to implement all unused computational units from Internet of Things into the SONM network, for each and so on? How will SONM software be implemented on Internet of Things devices?
Well, I think that is
fridge, vacuum cleaner.
We are saying that this is a final stage, obviously, of our is where we are heading. But obviously there is a lot of road to go until there. Now we start with the first one, that is the first release with the controlled sources of application, controlled source of hardware. Probably, actually, for sure, in some years we will be able to also reach this aims where we are aiming. But we have to figure out a lot of things first.
And then we will add it layer by layer.
We want to have something that, look, there are, I think here, it's so far ahead that I think that we can, obviously, the way we are developing our environment is that release by release, we can decide to actually be compatible with what was before, and making sure that actually adding more services that are useful for more applications that are coming. Ideally, in the final stage, we will also have this happening to us, and at that stage, we will then have a different strategy in the way we, for example, providing services. There will be different costs. There will be a premium, there will be a freemium. There are things that obviously we will do and we can do. But at the moment, our thoughts, our plans I wanna keep us very concrete and hit the market as fast as possible with our first release. We are committed to do that, but step by step.
And I would like to add some more points. If you already have, for example, a TV set or a vacuum cleaner or a coffee machine which has, for example, some system on a chip crystal that is capable of running, for example, Linux, technically it is possible to, with some low efforts, to bring SONM there. But the question is about the economical efficiency of this activity. For example, if you buy a TV set, you'll pay quite a lot of money, and the processing power investment for this money would be relatively low. And if you will load this TV set as a computing center with 24/7 loads, it perhaps can go down faster and your investment would not be economically proven, basically. Or if you will bring the SONM network to your phone, for example, the amount of computing power there and compared to the price of the phone, they're not cost effective.
And the battery life.
The battery life, each devices, they have an optimization task. For example, if you have lower weight, you will have a lower amount of battery working hours. So if you want it to be heavier, or you will make it possible to have a long battery life. So the optimization, and all the mobile devices, they are optimized to be lightweight, they are optimized to work from the battery, they have low frequencies and that kind of thing. So they are just economically not optimal devices for mining to exist. And if you even take all of your smart devices inside your home, all your vacuum cleaners, coffee machines and TV sets, and combine them all together, my assumption is that their combined computing power would be lower than from a medium-sized just tower PC. And this is technically possible, this is fine, this is high, but the computing output, the performance is not, I don't think that it's
is worth. But the thing is that on this one, actually, that's why it's good that there is still some time on. Sorry, you wanted to add?
Just
yes,
one last thing.
Sorry.
I remember the times when the computers they didn't exist at each home. I remember the first computers with the first Intel chips. I had a monochrome laptop at my home with just black and white and 16 degrees of gray. And I remember the time that the heavy computers, the productive computers and that can perform, they were only in the data centers, and I only heard rumors about them. But after 20 years, we have modern PC capable of running data center tasks at homes. And who knows what will happen in 5 years. Perhaps in 5 years, even a vacuum cleaner would take a huge difference compared to modern laptop. And this definitely will happen because most of the devices already have some excessive powers. But as the time goes, as the Moore laws happens, I think that eventually many of these devices can have enough power to be interesting. So this is a matter of waiting, and
and yes, I mean, this is actually it's the great part of what we are doing. We are shaping now the infrastructure for the future, because imagine that there will be a lot of power that is going to be embedded in the different devices that you will have at home. There will be some companies who will actually have them working together to do some particular task at home, and probably they can use the same network that is SONM to provide this computational power to have them harmonizing their own work. So probably it's 24/7 when you are using a TV, it is not efficient. But I am thinking, for example, the possibility of having an interface in which you can set how much you want to have, 10-20%, and it's not just about the money. It's about, for example, being part of a specific task. I am dreaming about, for example, a user that has the possibility of giving this hardware or Internet of Things only for specific applications, which are, for example, linked to environmental protection. So monitoring, for example, the Earth, and they want to be part of this dream. And why not? Yes, you have to be also. You can be rewarded, and actually you can even decide to give this money back to this organization. So it's more about having people being connected and being part of an active role. This is very important. We are talking about mining and why us. We are wanted to do something to bring efficiency to the use of a great computational power. I think that we don't have to forget that yes, mining now could look like that from let's say an energy point of view is not as efficient so efficient use of resources, but actually gave us the chance to build a huge infrastructure of potential computational power that we now are going to use it for something that is useful. So something that is really can change some researches, can shorten the time between it is 1 month to probably just a few days or hours. The more we will go in this direction, the more, let's say, there is I would say a purpose of us of making it stronger and the purpose of the people to be part of it. So that's why I'm here, that's why we are here. It's not just about guarantee how much money we make, no, but let's use all this great power that we are adding in the best way.
Yeah, but still the most effective computing hardware, if you would like to earn money, if you would like to make an investment and earn money, the most effective way is to buy a tower PC, fill it with GPUs, fill it with memory disks, and this would be the optimal investment of money.
Yeah, but not vacuum cleaner, right? Good speech, by the way. I like
yeah,
it.
I think
it touched my heart.
And you inspired all of us.
No, but I think that this is, I think what everybody else is here. It's yes, from a technical point of view, there are certain things, but we are aiming to go in a certain direction. And yeah, the vacuum cleaner 10 years ago was a certain way. Now actually we have iRobot, who actually goes around and clean, and probably
and I imagine how it will work like 20 years in the future. It's like, what a mess! Who done this? Okay, I will clean it up. $1, please. Like, I don't know how it will work.
Yeah.
What about timing? Okay.
Left? 16 minutes left? Or?
Yeah, no, it's like 2 minutes more than
we can just,
planned.
if we are finished with the questions that we plan to answer, we can go to Blitz and answer anything.
Okay, brief questions from YouTube chat, and then when we finish.
Okay.
How many people are working SONM team right now? How many?
It depends on the team department. The technical department is more than 20 people at this moment, and
SONM team. It's not in the office. The
totally, I think it's
all
about it's about 50 people at this moment.
Yeah.
20 in the technical department, some community support, some marketing, some other teams.
Marketing, we have 8 people minimum. Then we have sales people now coming.
Yeah.
So around 50 is a good.
Okay. Question from same person, Jonathan Crew. How does SONM compare to AWS?
Amazon Web Services.
Yeah.
Amazon Web Services is the major. Okay, Amazon is the first player, number 1 on the cloud market now, and they have more than 100 services, and we are trying to implement 2, perhaps 3 or 5 eventually kind of services that they provide at this moment. But we will take the most essential parts and make it possible to run distributed applications on our system. So we are trying to do something similar to a couple of services that Amazon already is providing, but with some benefits.
Price, scalability,
geo-distribution, cryptocurrency. For someone, this is an approach, and this is a future architecture.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. The next question: on marketplace, would we have an option to allocate only a portion of resources instead of all?
Yes, we are, but the current approach to sharing resources is that you either give your PC to SONM in full, or you don't. We don't have a slider like give more or less to the SONM, because you are either earning money or you are not. So if you're earning money, you install Linux and you maintain hub there, and later we will implement support for other platforms. So you give all the resources at some particular device fully to SONM. But then after that you can shape it for the market. You can rent it out at the whole device, like all of the resources on a single machine. Or you can divide it into some resource pieces, we call them slots. For example, you have 4 cores, you have 4 gigabytes of memory. You can cut them in pieces like 1 core, 1 gigabyte and make 4 of such slots. But we estimated that it's not practically worth efforts to do sharing of the resources, because the money output of this sharing would be too low to even to consider doing this. Because even miners which are doing 24/7 working, even they have relatively low at this moment rate of the investment.
But we'll consider and we'll make some analysis on this win after, because now
After
it's
perhaps.
yes.
But currently no slider, more or less.
No.
We have only 2 binary options, full or 0.
You need we need our your full commitment to us.
Yeah, we go for your
Please.
full computer.
Okay, it seems like now here is on one more question. What is SONM analog to IXX proof of contribution protocol? Just so some guy asked this in Reddit, and if you haven't cleared this already.
As I mentioned, we have universal types of approaches, as I mentioned, and this can be implemented at the application level by the application developers themselves. So IXX, I think they have a kind of application-specific approach. So we have different thing here. We have general computing.
Okay, let's. Any alliances in the coming horizon?
Yeah,
alliances.
We are working on some, but unless we are ready to make a press release.
We are working on many alliances, but we will, when you will see when you have press release, there will be. But we confident we are working on this.
It's not good to speak about it before we.
Or
Okay.
individually.
Yeah.
So no new questions. So we now can stop the translation. And actually, it's 1.5 hours right now. Thank you for watching this Q&A. Thank you for your questions. We will make next Q&A session in December, in the middle of the month. And thank you all. Bye bye.
Ciao.
Bye bye.